The elegant terrace of the country club overlooked the manicured golf course as my father's 60th birthday celebration reached its peak. I sat quietly at the corner of our reserved table, still wearing my hospital ID badge and comfortable flats, having come straight from a long day at Metropolitan General. The late afternoon sun caught the crystal champagne glasses as Dad's friends and colleagues shared toasts and stories about his successful investment banking career. "So Jennifer," my stepmother Patricia announced with her usual theatrical flair, "still working at that hospital downtown?" Her voice carried across the table, drawing attention from Dad's business associates and their wives. I looked up from my untouched salmon. "Yes, at Metropolitan General." Right. Medical support staff, isn't it?" Patricia adjusted her diamond tennis bracelet, making sure everyone noticed it. "My stepdaughter works in healthcare administration. It's steady work." The guests nodded politely while I continued eating. Patricia had been married to Dad for 3 years, and she'd never quite understood what I did for a living, despite my attempts to explain. "Patricia's right," Dad chimed in, slightly buzzed from the champagne. "Jennifer's always been the practical one. Not everyone can be a surgeon or a specialist. Someone has to handle the paperwork and coordinate schedules." His business partner, Mr. Henderson, leaned forward with interest. "Healthcare administration is important work, Jennifer. Hospitals couldn't function without good support staff." Before I could respond, Patricia jumped in with renewed enthusiasm. "Exactly. Jennifer does all the behind-the-scenes work that keeps the real medical professionals organized. Scheduling surgeries, managing patient files, coordinating with insurance companies." "That sounds complex," offered Mrs. Henderson kindly. "Oh, it is," Patricia agreed. "But it's perfect for someone who wants to be around medicine without the stress of actually being responsible for patient care. Jennifer gets to wear scrubs and feel medical without having to make life-or-death decisions." I took a sip of water and remained quiet, accustomed to these mischaracterizations. "The beauty of Jennifer's job," Patricia continued, warming to her favorite topic, "is that she gets all the stability of hospital employment without the pressure that real doctors face. Regular hours, good benefits, no malpractice concerns." Dad nodded approvingly. "Jennifer's always been risk-averse. Support roles suit her personality perfectly." Mr. Henderson's wife looked sympathetic. "That must be nice, dear. No call schedules or emergency situations to interrupt your personal life." Patricia laughed. "Exactly. Jennifer works her shift and goes home. She's not like those surgeons who get called in at all hours for emergencies. Medical support staff have much better work-life balance." My phone buzzed against my purse. I glanced at the screen. "Metro General Surgical Services. See." Patricia pointed at my phone triumphantly. "Even when she's off duty, they're calling about scheduling issues or paperwork problems. But at least she doesn't have to actually handle medical emergencies." I silenced the phone and returned to my meal. "The thing about Jennifer," Dad explained to his colleagues, "is that she's never been ambitious in the traditional sense. She's content being a cog in the machine rather than running the machine." "There's nothing wrong with that," Mr. Henderson said diplomatically. "Not everyone can be the chief of surgery. Hospitals need support staff to keep everything organized." Patricia beamed. "That's exactly right. Jennifer found her niche. She's not a real professional in the sense of being a doctor or nurse, but she's professional support staff. It's honest work." "Professional support staff," Dad repeated with satisfaction. "That's a perfect way to put it, Patricia. Jennifer handles the administrative side so the actual medical professionals can focus on patient care." My phone rang insistently. Same number. I looked at the caller ID and realized this might be urgent. "Excuse me," I said, standing from the table. "I should take this." Patricia rolled her eyes dramatically. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I mean. Even at family celebrations, the hospital calls her about filing or scheduling issues." I stepped away from the table toward the club's garden area and answered. "Dr. Williams speaking." "Dr. Williams, this is Sandra from Surgical Services. I'm terribly sorry to interrupt your father's party, but we have an emergency situation that requires the chief of surgery immediately." My stomach tightened. "What's the nature of the emergency?" "The governor's wife was in a car accident about 20 minutes ago. She's being helicoptered to Metro General with severe internal injuries. The trauma team is assembling, but she specifically requested you perform the surgery. I glanced back at the terrace where Patricia was entertaining the table with stories about my administrative duties. What's her condition? Conscious but critical. Possible liver laceration. Definite internal bleeding. ETA is 15 minutes. Dr. Martinez has the trauma bay ready, but we need you to lead the surgical team. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Alert the OR and get Dr. Peterson and Dr. Kim scrubbed in as my assists. Should we notify the media? The governor's office is sending security detail. No media until after surgery. And Sandra, make sure the VIP suite is prepared for recovery. Of course, Dr. Williams. The governor and his security team will be arriving shortly. I ended the call and walked back to the table where Patricia was explaining to Mrs. Henderson why medical support staff never had to work weekends. Patricia, I said quietly, I have to leave. There's been an emergency. She sighed dramatically. See everyone? This is what Jennifer deals with. Some administrative crisis that can't wait until Monday morning. It's not administrative. Of course it is, honey. Let me guess. Someone called in sick and they need you to reschedule tomorrow's appointments. Dad looked apologetic to his guests. Jennifer, can't someone else handle whatever paperwork emergency they're having? This isn't about paperwork, Dad. Patricia waved dismissively. Jennifer, you don't need to make it sound more important than it is. We understand that hospital administration has urgent moments, but it's not like you're performing brain surgery. Actually, I said, gathering my purse, I need to perform emergency surgery on the governor's wife. She was in a car accident. The table fell completely silent. That's impossible, Patricia said flatly. Jennifer, you're medical support staff. You don't perform surgery. I'm the chief of surgery at Metropolitan General Hospital. The silence stretched uncomfortably long. Mr. Henderson cleared his throat. Jennifer, did you say chief of surgery? Yes. I've held the position for 4 years. Patricia laughed nervously. That's ridiculous. Jennifer works in hospital administration. She coordinates schedules and files paperwork. No, Patricia. I perform surgery. I lead a department of 18 surgeons and oversee all surgical services at Metro General. Dad stared at me as if seeing me for the first time. Jennifer, what are you talking about? I'm a board-certified surgeon, Dad. I completed my residency at Johns Hopkins and my fellowship in trauma surgery at Mass General. I've been practicing surgery for 12 years. Mrs. Henderson's mouth fell open. You're a surgeon? I specialize in trauma surgery and emergency procedures. The governor's wife was specifically requesting me because I performed a similar operation on the lieutenant governor last year. Patricia was shaking her head repeatedly. This is insane. You can't be the chief of surgery. You're too young and you work in administration. Sandra, the surgical coordinator, appeared at our table looking professional but urgent. Dr. Williams, the helicopter just landed. The patient is being prepped for emergency surgery. Every head at the table turned to stare at Sandra, then back at me. Tell Dr. Martinez I'll be there in 5 minutes, I said to Sandra. And make sure the governor's security detail is briefed on hospital protocols. Of course, Dr. Williams. As Sandra hurried away, the table remained frozen in shock. Who was that? Dad asked weakly. Sandra is our surgical coordinator. She manages or scheduling and coordinates with surgical teams. Patricia found her voice. Jennifer, this is some kind of mistake. You can't possibly be performing surgery on the governor's wife. I need to go, I said, standing. The patient has severe internal injuries and every minute counts. But your medical support staff, Patricia insisted desperately. Mr. Henderson pulled out his phone. I'm looking at Metropolitan General's website right now. Dr. Jennifer Williams, Chief of Surgery. He looked up at me. That's you. Yes. It says you're nationally recognized for developing new trauma surgery techniques. I've published research on emergency surgical procedures that are now used in hospitals across the country. Dad grabbed Mr. Henderson's phone and scrolled frantically. This says you won the American College of Surgeons Outstanding Achievement Award. 2 years ago, yes. Patricia was staring at me as if I'd grown a second head. Jennifer, how is this possible? We thought you were administrative staff. You assumed I was administrative staff. I never said that. But you wear scrubs. Surgeons wear scrubs, Patricia. And you said you worked at the hospital. I do work at the hospital. In the operating rooms. The sound of helicopter rotors grew louder overhead. I could see the medical helicopter landing on the hospital pad visible in the distance. I really have to go, I said firmly. The governor's wife needs immediate surgery to stop internal bleeding. Jennifer, Dad called as I started walking away. Wait. I don't understand. How long have you been a surgeon? 12 years, Dad. Since I finished my residency. But we never knew. Because you never asked. Every time I tried to explain my work, you or Patricia would interrupt with assumptions about what you thought I did. Mrs. Henderson looked mortified. Dr. Williams, we had no idea. We're so sorry. There's nothing to apologize for, I said, though my tone was cooler now. I need to save someone's life. As I walked toward my car, I could hear Patricia's voice behind me. This has to be some kind of misunderstanding. Jennifer can't be the chief of surgery. The drive to Metropolitan General took 8 minutes. When I arrived, the trauma bay was in controlled chaos. Nurses prepping equipment, anesthesiologists checking monitors, surgical residents reviewing the patient's condition. The governor's wife was conscious but clearly in significant pain. Dr. Martinez, our trauma director, met me at the patient's bedside. Dr. Williams, thank God you're here. We've got liver laceration, possible splenic injury, and significant internal bleeding. I quickly examined the patient and reviewed her scans. Prep or 2 immediately. We need to explore and repair the liver laceration first, then assess the spleen. Should we wait for additional surgeons? Dr. Peterson and Dr. Kim are scrubbing in. We proceed in 10 minutes. The surgery lasted 4 hours. The liver laceration was complex, requiring careful repair to preserve function while stopping the bleeding. Fortunately, the spleen was intact, though bruised. The governor's wife would make a full recovery. As I emerged from the OR, still in surgical scrubs, I found the governor, his security detail, and a small group of hospital administrators waiting anxiously. Governor, I said, approaching him directly, the surgery was successful. Your wife will make a complete recovery. Relief flooded his face. Dr. Williams, thank you. Thank you for saving her life. She's stable now and will be moved to the ICU for monitoring. You should be able to see her in about an hour. Doctor, I can't express how grateful we are. When the paramedics said they were bringing her to Metro General, I immediately asked for you. Your reputation for trauma surgery is unparalleled. Hospital CO Dr. Patterson joined our group. Governor, Dr. Williams is one of the finest trauma surgeons in the country. Your wife couldn't be in better hands. As we discussed the recovery plan and follow-up care, my phone buzzed with texts from my family. Dad, Jennifer, we're at the hospital. Can we see you? Patricia, I owe you the biggest apology of my life. 2 hours later, after ensuring my patient was stable in the ICU, I met my family in the hospital lobby. They looked small and uncomfortable in the bustling medical environment. Jennifer, Dad said as I approached, we saw the news. Channel 7 reported that you successfully operated on the governor's wife. The surgery went well. She'll make a full recovery. Patricia stepped forward, her earlier confidence completely gone. Jennifer, I don't know how to apologize for what I said. For what I thought about your work. Patricia, you don't need to. Yes, I do. I spent 3 years thinking you were some kind of hospital secretary when you were actually saving lives. I'm mortified. Dad looked genuinely ashamed. Jennifer, why didn't you correct us? Why let us think you were administrative staff? Because every job in a hospital has dignity, Dad. The people who coordinate schedules and manage files are just as important as the surgeons. A hospital can't function without every role being filled professionally. But you're the chief of surgery. And tomorrow I'll be back in the OR wearing the same scrubs Patricia mocked, doing the same work you thought was just steady employment. Mrs. Henderson, who had come with them, shook her head. Dr. Williams, we feel terrible about our assumptions. There's nothing to feel terrible about. But maybe next time ask someone about their work before deciding what it means. Patricia hugged me tightly. Jennifer, can you forgive us? And can you tell us about what you really do? I want to understand. I smiled for the first time that evening. I'd be happy to tell you about trauma surgery. But first, let me check on my patient one more time. As we walked toward the elevators, Dad asked quietly, Jennifer, are you proud of what you do? Every single day, Dad. Every single day. Just another day at the office.